Othering Podcast explores the world of marginalized communities with a focus on the disabled and LGBTQ+. In our discussions, we will provide a platform for our guests to advocate and share their stories. By delving deep into their difficulties and successes, we will explore the changes necessary to improve lives everywhere. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the Othering Podcast with Mike and Dory. Step into a world where animals walk, talk, and think just like us. This collection of 30 short stories, each starring unforgettable anthropomorphic characters, is written with one simple philosophy. Everyone is welcome at the zoo.
Created for readers of all ages, these stories celebrate diversity, imagination, and the joy of seeing the world through different eyes. From clever foxes to thoughtful elephants, every tale offers humor, heart, and a fresh perspective on what it means to be human, told through the voices of the creatures we love. Whether you're looking for a quick read, a thoughtful escape, educational value, or modern bedtime stories, Welcome to the Zoo is your ticket to adventure.
Welcome to the Zoo is available on Amazon in hardcover, paperback, Kindle, and free with Kindle Unlimited.
Welcome to the Zoo by Paul Smith.
PEP Radio, part of the Pennsylvania Equality Project, advocates for the rights of LGBTQ+ people, the disabled, and marginalized communities. We play music from all 7 continents from 1928 through 2025. We also offer news, history lessons, and are proud to include the Othering Podcast in our programming lineup. Tune in on the Live 365 app, Roku, and Alexa every Saturday and Sunday at 4 p.m.
First impressions can take as little as 6 seconds to make. But in these fleeting moments, whose amazing stories don't we get to hear? That's where Beyond 6 Seconds comes in. Join me, Carolyn Keel, as I uncover stories of life and creativity, triumph and struggle, with the focus on neurodiversity. I'm featuring neurodivergent people whose stories shatter misconceptions, break stigma, and showcase vibrance and diversity. To listen, go to beyond6seconds.net or follow the show in your favorite podcast player.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
All right, today we are talking to Clark. Clark is the host of Chronically the Sickest Podcast. She loves iced coffee. If you've ever followed her on Instagram, you would see that. She loves dressing in bold colors and befriending the neighborhood crows. She is living with multiple chronic conditions, including POTS, endometriosis, heart disease, and chronic pain, which led her to create her podcast, Chronically the Sickest, in her spare time. You'll find her redoing mythical young adult novels and watching reruns of Parks and Rec, Heartstopper. She also loves 2000 Disney Channel movies, and she loves pink, green, and cats. Welcome, Clark.
Welcome.
It's great to have you. We love cats.
Yes, we have 3, but one is right now at college with our daughter.
Okay.
And the other 2 are home with us because they're not going anywhere. One is my shadow, and the other one is our son's shadow. So we can't,
Can't get rid of them.
No, of course not. They're our babies. And then we have 2 dogs as well. So, yeah. And a rabbit.
I like how you forgot the rabbit a little bit. You were like, oh, right, and also him.
Yeah, he's so quiet. So it's kind of easy to forget about him when he's the quiet one out of the bunch.
Yes,
Everybody else
makes sense.
make sure that they're known. Sorry to get off topic, but gotta mention the kitty cats and puppies.
Of course.
Sorry, I love talking about cats, as you can tell by the intro. So thank you. I love learning about this.
Not a problem. So let's start, if you don't mind, with how did you get into doing the podcast? What made you say, you know what, I want to do podcasts as opposed to say music or other forms of art?
Whoa, that's a really good question. The easy answer is probably that I cannot carry a tune that well. So I cannot sing, which is a bummer. And then I would love to get into writing, but it's just such long form content. And I feel like I just don't have the attention span for that, which I feel like everyone relates to, especially if you're younger. Everyone's attention span is shot. But I started my podcast, Chronically the Sickest, because I used to listen to the podcast, Oh, That's So Chronic, and I got super into it, and I love learning new things. And then she took a break for her health and to go to university. And I tried to find something that was similar. And I realized, I was like, I can't find anything that is what I'm looking for. I was like, oh, I could just create my own. And so I did.
Awesome.
I have
like
found
that.
it's very hard to find good podcasts out there. There's millions of them, but I listened to one and I'm like, no. So I got like my two favorites.
Yes.
Ooh.
And it is kind of hard to break through that noise too. So how have you been doing with that? Like, I guess managing your podcast as well as managing the symptoms of your multiple today is fog day, so sorry.
You can just say you're lots of chronic conditions.
Yes, thank you. I couldn't even think
go.
of the words. Thank you so much. But like all of your chronic conditions, how do you manage both? Because sometimes I find like my brain fog will jump in at any given moment, or sometimes you just don't feel good, or you have a flare and you're just like, you know what, I don't want to do it today, but I'm going to do it anyway. Or maybe it's just too much and you can't do it. So how do you kind of manage those?
Well, I think that it helps that it is a chronic illness and like neurodivergence based podcast. So the nice part is that the guests are people who understand. So it's oftentimes that I do have a guest that cancels last minute, or that they're like, I had someone who said, hey, I technically don't have to cancel, but I just got an appointment with like a specialist out of state and I really want to take it. And I was like, don't let me
Go
stand
for
in the way.
it. Yeah.
Which, I mean, you guys know it's so hard to get appointments sometimes. So
Oh, yeah,
it's,
definitely.
yeah. But I think that it helps with the guests that I have. They make me feel very comfortable. And my thought is I make them feel very comfortable as well. So I really try to focus on the joy that I get from doing the podcast. And that helps very much to combat like the physical toll maybe that it takes on my body, or the mental toll, because I mean, socializing is a lot. But
Yes.
my therapist always says you have to give spoons to get spoons. And so I give my spoons to the podcast in the hopes that I walk away going, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, but that was the most fun I've had.
I like that, because like, it is true though. You give a lot of spoons in order to, be energetic enough to kind of keep going and talking. And even though I like to talk,
Yeah.
sometimes
No
shut up. Sometimes it gets overwhelming, and like I'll get exhausted afterwards. But you're right; it's just really feels good.
Did you find that starting the podcast like we did, that starting the podcast really helped with like finding your community, finding your people that understand, and your people.
Yeah. That was a great way to put that. It absolutely is. It's like, I like to joke that I started the podcast for the reason I started it, but it ended up more just being that I wanted to find friends. And like, I chat with like some of the people I've interviewed like every week now. Like I have weekly Zoom calls with people in the UK or in Washington. So it's so fun. I love it.
Yeah, we've made a lot of great friends out there.
Yeah, and it is true. You do find your people on here, because not only do they maybe share, similar diagnoses, but they just get it. And when you find people that get it, whether it's the chronic pain or just chronic fatigue and just all of that together, it's freeing and it's fun and it's enjoyable and it makes life better. I dare say, because
I would agree. Life is much better.
Well, not just with me. I mean, like, better in general.
It is. I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were trying to be sarcastic and saying, well, life with you is better, Deborah.
Well, that's true too, but overall it's better because you're talking to people, you're finding people with similar ailments or conditions and that have commonalities with you. So it makes a big difference.
So, if you don't mind, I was wondering, how long did it take to get your diagnoses? Like, was it one of those where you were lucky enough to get doctors that believed you? Or did you, unfortunately, like I did, where you had to go through a myriad of doctors? Some believed you, but they're like, well, it can't possibly be this because you don't look like the textbook, pretzel kind of thing.
I like that Texas pretzel. Because you're right, when you think of a pretzel, it looks a certain way. But if you go to Trader Joe's, there's lots of different.
Right. There are. And I use that because, like, before you answer, basically, on my journey, I was told I couldn't possibly have CRPS because I wasn't contorted. I didn't have fixed dystonia, so he's like, you can't possibly have it. But most people who have CRPS, according to the literature, don't have fixed dystonia, where their, joints or muscles kind of atrophy a little bit, and you get stuck in certain positions. Diagnosing somebody because they don't look like the textbook or whatever it is kind of dismissive, because so many people, like
Very
you said,
dismissive.
So many people like pretzels aren't all in the same shape. And so I was just wondering, was it a more pleasant experience for you?
Well, I wish. I love that you kind of introduced it as being like, was it super quick and easy and you had like the doctors that you needed at the time, or was it more of a journey? And I think that that's really funny because I feel like it always is like that. It's either someone who's like, oh yeah, I found the perfect doctor right away, or they're like, well, it took me 11 years and I sobbed for most of them. And I think I was lucky in the sense that it didn't take 10 or 11 years or whatever. It didn't take a whole decade, but I grew up with parents who were very much the kind of parents that, like, unless you were like dying on the floor, it was like you're perfectly fine. And a lot of that was because
Me too.
yeah, I feel like that made it a little bit harder for a lot of my diagnoses. I think I could have gotten diagnosed younger. Like, I used to pass out a lot in high school, and I had super bad periods and all of these things. And you know what? My parents had 4 kids. They were doing a lot. My mom got diagnosed as autistic like last year. So like, I give them a lot of grace, but that also meant that I didn't start fighting for diagnoses until I turned 19 and moved out of the house. And then it took me a couple of years after that, kind of going through the doctors and the people who go, you don't look like the pretzel we think you look like. But I'm here now, and I'm very grateful that it didn't take a whole decade and that it led to, I guess, where I am now, right?
Yes.
What was the first diagnosis you received? Do you
Oh,
remember?
golly. Sorry, that was really funny the way that I responded to that. I was like, that's a good question.
No, it's a good one.
I want to say that it was endometriosis.
Okay.
Because I went hunting for a tubal ligation or a hysterectomy, and
Okay.
that ended with the endometriosis diagnosis.
Were you able to get the tubal ligation or the hysterectomy, or were they did they talk you out of it? Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that, because sometimes I've read where...
The answer was yes for the listener.
Oh, yes.
Oh, sorry, apologies. Audio medium.
I'm glad to hear that, because so many people get, well, what about your future husband, or who cares? Right now, if I'm suffering, I want to be better. And honestly, I think that makes you a better person and a better partner, because you're not focused on suffering. Mm-hmm. When you're not suffering, you're so much calmer and easier to understand things, and just everything seems to like pile on better. When you're not focused on being in excruciating pain.
Yeah, definitely makes a big difference when you're not always in excruciating pain.
Mm-hmm. Was it constant for you, or did you have some relief?
Oh yeah, are you okay? Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm sorry. Today, I think my allergies are just really killing me. And I apologize, because I know you understand, but it's just, I can't help it. I grew up with you got to apologize for being this, or you got to apologize for being that, because it takes up so much time and effort of other people.
Yeah.
And I want to change that, for not only for myself, but for other people too. We don't need to apologize for anything. We're human.
Unless you hurt somebody.
Well, yeah, of course.
Have you ever heard of like the thank you hack? Because I say I'm sorry a lot too. Instead of saying I'm sorry for coughing or interrupting or whatever, you say thank you for letting me like get that out of my chest. 1 second. Like you
wow.
just phrase it as like thank you for waiting for me, versus like I'm so sorry.
where have you been all my life? But seriously, like, you have said such wonderful things and just put a great spin on it. And yeah, like, I am 100% guilty of when I don't feel well or when I'm having flares or just anything, even if it's not my fault, if I'm like in somebody's way, I always apologize. And when I started kind of getting a part of this group and being a part of the disabled community, everybody kept saying, do you apologize a lot? And I'm like thinking, oh my God, yes, I do. But I realized I'm trying to minimize myself. I don't want to be, taking up space in a way. And we should, we can't make ourselves smaller than we already are physically. So why are we trying to mentally make ourselves smaller?
So here's the question of the hour. Does anybody remember the original question?
Yes.
Three brain fog people here.
Am I in pain all the time?
Mm-hmm.
You phrased it better than that. But to answer the original question, I was in pain most of the time.
Okay.
I got on birth control to try and mitigate that, and that did not work. I feel like I just turned into a monster. Like, emotionally, I was so obnoxious. But I was in pain most of the time. And I think it made me into a person that I did not want to be. And I didn't even realize that it was endometriosis. I just knew that I was, I was bleeding all the time, and I was passing out from my period, and I was not brought up on McLovin it, so I wanted to change it.
And I am so sorry that you had to go through that, because I understand that. I don't think I have endometriosis. Honestly, nobody's ever really looked for me, and for the longest time growing up, I didn't bleed a whole lot until my period, but once it came, it was the most excruciating, miserable moment of my life. I would get severe depression, my anxiety would go through the roof, and then in order to even remotely function, I'd have to ball my hands into fists and shove them into my stomach. And growing up, it was, well, you're a girl, that's what's going to happen. And it's just like, no, it shouldn't be that. And I definitely want to change that thought process, because we shouldn't have to suffer for anything. We should be able to enjoy our youth and enjoy our, older years without the discomfort of periods. I mean, they just recently, like last year, realized maybe we should try and use blood to see if our products actually absorb. It's like, seriously? Why did you wait so long? And it's just, I feel like it makes us who we are, but at the same time, we shouldn't have to be in so much pain. And it should just be allowed to, be human. And because, like, you're talking about the birth control, and I was on birth control for a while, and I was really miserable. I don't know if you remember, Mike, but I was not
Nope. Not at all.
He blocked it from his mind because it was so bad.
It was like, there's no right answer here, just nod.
Exactly. I remember being very miserable on it. I hated how I was on it. I felt like one moment I was too happy, almost like it made me manic. And then the other time I would just be dead. Like I wasn't myself. And I didn't like it. I hated being on birth control. And the only one that actually worked was the IUD.
Since your hysterectomy, would you say that you overall feel better? I mean, clearly that got rid of some symptoms, but do you still have chronic pain from other things?
Well, I mean, I have to put this out there because I feel like otherwise we're going to get nasty comments, but a hysterectomy is not a cure for endometriosis. I want to put that out there.
Thank you. Yes.
It did help a lot. I had really bad, not to be graphic, but I called them cervix stabbies.
Yes.
So it literally felt like I could feel my uterus contracting around like my IUD, and it literally felt like I could feel it stabbing the inside of my organs. So removing the organ helped a lot. But I still have like endometriosis symptoms. I'm in medical menopause now too, so it's like weirder symptoms now. But like I went from a 9 out of 10 pain on some days at like my highest to like maybe a 6 now is like the highest I get, which is like such a slay. I love that.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is a huge
It's a
one.
big improvement.
I mean, yeah, 6 is still high, but people have to understand that going from a 9, 10 level of pain down to a 6 is a huge win. I mean, you can't beat that. And, well, I mean, yeah, you can, but because you can always go lower. And I hope that at some point it does, but that's a huge win, though. And, like, you should be out there celebrating and, you know, having parties that you have, you know, better, what is it I'm trying to say?
Quality of life.
Yeah, better quality of life. Because that's the biggest thing that we all are striving for is a better quality of life. And I think that is so amazing that you got a better one. And yes, I like the fact that you said that, you know, removing the organ isn't the end all and be all. It's not like all of a sudden now you're 100% cured.
No.
Because I don't want people thinking, well, if I go run out and get rid of my uterus, now I'll be great. No. There's other issues, and you have to think long and hard about it. Because it is an organ. It affects our day-to-day lives.
It's a major
especially
surgery.
As a person who is born a female. And I mean, like, I don't know how guys are when they go through puberty, but I know I was a raging lunatic.
That hasn't changed much.
And my hormones, like, holy shit, they were just all over the place when I went through puberty. And it was like, best way to describe it is like the way that they talk about when people have LSD and it's like, you know, just kind of weird moments. I know it doesn't make sense, but
Like hallucinations.
yes,
almost.
it's almost like hallucinations, but that's at how bad my puberty was. It was awful and all over the place and just full of, oh, I want to do this, or oh, I want to do that. And I bring this up mainly because I was undiagnosed for the longest time until earlier this year that I had neurodivergence. And I feel like it played a part in the all overness and the kind of psychedelic feel to my puberty. And the hallucinations, I didn't necessarily have hallucinations, but that type of not right feeling that you get. And it's just, as much as I wished to have gotten rid of my uterus at that time, it wouldn't have worked for me. And mainly because my hormones were also kind of, I guess you could say, keeping my body together. So it wouldn't have been the best choice for me, personally. But I also want to say that if it is right for you, just like it was for you, Clark, please get it done. Find a doctor that listens, that will say, you know what, let's get it done because this isn't right. This isn't how it should be. It's not working for you.
So is that when they discovered your endometriosis, when they took that out, or did they know you had it before that surgery?
Once I found a doctor who was willing to do it, who I love dearly, she had an inkling that it was endometriosis because I came to her and actually this is the perfect show to talk about this on.
Yes.
I went to her and was like, I am bleeding all the time and it's giving me gender dysphoria. Like the idea that you'd think that being on your period all the time, you'd be like, I feel like a woman to the utmost proportion. But in reality, I just felt like not human anymore. Like I felt like I was in pain all the time. I was bleeding all the time. And when I told her that, she was like, okay, like, I think this is endometriosis. Like, I think there's something going on. And she was excited because she was like, I get to help you get rid of this thing that's causing it. And we can maybe figure it out. And so when she went in there, I like woke up and she came over and I was still very out of it. But she was like, we found something. And I was like, I love you.
Yes.
That's a great story.
That is a great story. And that's a better way to put what I was trying to say, was that there was a gender dysphoria to it for me. I didn't want to be male, but I hated being female, especially when my period would come and my hormones just, it never made sense. And then when I realized that I was neurodivergent, specifically more like ADHD and autism, then it started making sense. And I want people to be able to keep going, keep trying to find that person that listens to you and helps you discover these things. Because living your life, like for instance, I'm 47 years old, and not realizing that my brain doesn't think like the quote unquote normies has changed how I look back and how I feel about myself. Because I realize now it's because I thought differently. And because, being neurodivergent, sometimes you feel like you're just not right. You're not in the right position or place or anything or time sometimes. And not realizing why that is changes so much. And I think it's just, for me, my hormones were just also like killing me with that all over the place. How was it for you when you hit puberty? Like, was it immediate endometriosis pain, or did you have any reprieves?
Well, before I answer your question, I just want to say thank you for sharing what you did, because I think a lot of neurodivergent people, struggle with gender consistency, just because, like you said, it's like, I don't feel like a human, so how am I supposed to know, like, what my gender is and how do I feel in relation to that? So thank you for sharing, because I thought that was great that you could relate to that. Sorry, but to answer your question, puberty was odd. I think that I recognized how horrible I was to everyone around me once I saw my little siblings go through it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't realize that I was the worst. But in relation to like endometriosis and things like that, like I had cyst bursts when I was younger. Like I was in a lot of pain on my periods. I think the first year was just trying to figure out what in the world was happening, and then being like, I guess this is normal. And then after that, it felt like it just kind of went downhill in the sense of like I started passing out and having cyst bursts and things like that. So not my favorite time in my life, but I can look back now and be like, well, thank goodness I don't have to do that anymore.
So with what Doria was talking about with the autism and stuff, do you feel like your autism affected your communication with doctors and affected the way doctors perceived you or understood you? That's something we've heard before.
No, that's a really good question. I feel like you're really the hard-hitting questions, But I am going to be really honest. I actually don't disclose my autism to my doctors out of fear that it will affect their perception of me. Because, I mean, you guys already know, because I feel like you have your own chronic illnesses and conditions, that you are already going into a doctor's appointment and they're like, oh, did you go to Dr. Google again? Like, you have a chronic condition that doesn't have a lot of research behind it. So I feel like they already are set to not believe you. You're already working against the system. And so walking in there and being like, hi, I have a neurodevelopmental disability and I find it hard to communicate. They're going to be like, okay, sweetie, we're gonna, and I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know we were going straight into the what is that?
The condescension.
Yeah. Sorry, my brain went, it's not condensation.
No, I was thinking the same thing. That was what popped in, condensation. I'm like, wait a minute, no, definitely not that. That's water. But I completely understand and I agree. I haven't really talked to any of my doctors about my neurodivergence. I haven't brought it up. I just kind of keep it to, I am here to see you because of X, Y, and Z. And I try not to mention anything else outside of that, unless it's relevant, because I don't want them to then come, well, could it be because of this? I mean, for instance, I went and saw a doctor because my lower back hurts along with the CRPS in my legs. And I was trying to figure out, well, why is it that it's happening? And the first thing they said to me was, have you tried losing weight?
Ah.
And it's not that I haven't, I have, but when you are in pain and you can't move your leg all that well anyway, losing weight is the last thing on your mind. Because how are you going to do it if you can't exercise on top of, eating right? Because eating right only gets you so far.
Yeah.
And so since then, I've been very cautious about trying to word things so that it doesn't sound like weight could possibly be a part of it or anything else.
So I want to say it's bullshit that we have to hide stuff from doctors to make sure that they treat us right. That's
agree.
not fair. I mean, I do it too. I think everyone does it to some degree, but that's not right. That's bullshit, and we shouldn't have to. They should know everything about you so that they know what to look for and how to communicate or whatever, and it shouldn't be something that we're afraid is going to affect our treatment if we tell them. That ain't right.
Retweet that, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, because I agree with that. Holding back that information can sometimes cause diagnoses to go undetected, or it could be
Wrong
a part
diagnoses.
But at the same time, the fact that they're just like, well, let's focus on this then, and let's get you well, let's put you in an institution, or let's put you in the hospital for something else, and then you end up waking up with an amputated thumb, even though that's not what you were in pain for, or what the problem was. And it's not that it escalates to that, but it's just kind of a visualization of how it feels when you tell them too much information. Is that you're going to get dismissed for what you came in there for, the first part, and then they're just going to take you down this path that has nothing to do with why you're there. And it's it's ridiculous.
No, I totally agree, and I hear you. What's that old adage that they say? It's like in medical school, they teach them, like, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. And I think that just applies to the idea that they try to find the easiest answer. So it's like you come in and we always joke, it's like, it's anxiety, or you need to lose weight, or maybe it is just as a result of this diagnosis that you already have. It's like, I came to you because you have a degree and you have more access to the knowledge of what other differential diagnoses could this be. And so it is so frustrating when you're like, why do I have to hide half of what is going on in my life just because you guys want to find the easy answer? And I don't want to give you the easy answer. I want to look.
Right.
And I agree. Sometimes it is the easy answer. Sometimes it is the most obvious thing. But not everything is. And that's kind of where they seem to forget that not everything is by the book. Not everything is in the book. Sometimes you have to think outside the book and come up with, well, maybe since I didn't see anything on the x-ray, maybe we need to move to the CAT scan and, keep digging, keep trying to figure things out. Don't just throw your hands up and say, well, just lose some weight and you'll get better. Or, cut your hair and your headaches will be gone.
Do yoga.
The famous one, do yoga. Have you tried yoga yet? That'll cure you. It doesn't. And I hate it when people say do yoga.
I don't know why that's so, why is it always yoga? Or essential oils? I feel like essential oils is becoming more popular. Not that they're not helpful, but it's not going to cure my chronic pain. Appreciate it, though.
No, in fact, it would flare mine up because you're supposed to use them for massages. And if you massage any certain parts of my body, I will scream. So it's essential oils I could drip on me, and it's just, well, that just sounds kinky now. Sorry. Exactly.
Sorry.
No, but keeping it clean, it shouldn't be if you try to find anything that it's the automatic knee-jerk reaction is, well, have you tried yoga or have you tried essential oils? There's one where somebody said if you eat bananas at 9 a.m. every day, it'll cure. I can't remember what chronic syndrome it was. And I'm thinking, where do these people pull this from?
It'll give you potassium.
I was literally just thinking
anything.
that. I was like, potassium deficiency feels like maybe it would help that, but otherwise it's like making a mountain out of a molehill, as they say.
Yes.
So speaking of potassium, you had mentioned you had heart disease. And I know potassium has something to do with heart. I went through something recently. So I guess how did you, or was it easy to get diagnosed, and how does it affect you?
Yes. And how does it affect your pots?
Ooh, these are all good questions. Also, that segue was phenomenal. I wanted to clap. That
you.
like deserved applause. Phenomenal. So it is in relation to my POTS because I found out by going to a cardiologist. Obviously, that's how you do the whole get a heart diagnosis thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I got diagnosed with my POTS first, I guess, technically. And my cardiologist, I kept trying to explain to her, I was like, I'm not having heart palpitations. Like, my heart is going fast, but there's a difference between the heart palpitations and what I called, like, it feels like, I don't know if you guys have watched the show Once Upon a Time with like Emma Swan and like the whole, they retell stories, and the girl who voices Judy Hopper. But in that show, like the evil queen will stick her hand inside someone's chest and squeeze their heart. And I tried to explain to her, I was like, it literally feels like someone is inside, and like it feels like someone's squeezing my heart. It's not heart palpitations. And she was like, ooh, girl, that does not sound right. And I was like, no, it does not. And so, like, we did some imaging, and the gold standard for what I have. So I have coronary artery vasospasms, which is a type of coronary artery disease, which is heart disease. And I believe it's called an angiography is like the gold standard for that. But like I am on essentially antispasmodics for my heart and a calcium channel blocker. So it allows essentially for more blood to flow through and less like squeezing on my arteries, which is what's giving me that horrible sensation. But yes, I actually do eat more potassium, and like I drink beet juice and things like that. I'm very much a believer that natural medicine and Western medicine, like medical interventions, are the best way to live life, is to do both, not one or the other.
Yes.
I went through a big thing with my heart. Well, what I thought was my heart. I would say it felt like adrenaline in my heart.
Ooh,
Almost,
yeah.
it felt like it was speeding up, but like I had a heart monitor and it didn't really change how many beats per minute, but it felt like it was speeding up, and it almost had like an adrenaline type feeling in my chest. And I didn't know what it was. Went to a cardiologist, had all the standard testing done, and they mentioned potassium so many times, which is why I knew that. And basically in the end they got nowhere. They never diagnosed me, nothing ever happened, but they put me on different medicine. I guess I had high cholesterol at one point, so they put me on that. But yeah, I never got anywhere with it. But the way you were describing your pain almost kind of sounded familiar. It's not quite squeezing, but it almost kind of fit what I was feeling. So I thought that was interesting.
You should go back.
They don't listen.
Well, I always, when I go to an appointment, and especially with being in this community and having access to all this information and talking to people like you or other people with where you're like, oh, that sounds kind of like what I'm going through. I always go to the doctor and I always phrase it, if I go back and say, my friend just got diagnosed with XYZ and they had all these same symptoms. And so I'm wondering if it could be that, instead of phrasing it like, well, I did all my own research because my friend online said something, I kind of related to it. So I Googled and now I'm here. If you just phrase it as, yeah, my friend, did some research into XYZ, and they go, oh, your friend, meaning for some reason they're like, oh, well, another doctor who I respect as a peer agreed. So sure.
Yeah.
So maybe if you go in and say, hi, I have a friend, they have coronary artery disease, maybe is that.
That would be a bad idea.
Do you know what test it was that they did to find that you had that?
I believe it's called the angiography.
Okay.
Angiography.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I had that.
No, you did not.
Also, you could always just ask if you can do a calcium channel blocker, because a lot of doctors are fine with putting you on something like that. And maybe if that helps you, you can go back and be like, hey, by process of elimination, it is this thing.
Interesting. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Truly, like, we've been racking our brains trying to figure it out, because a lot of his symptoms, and this also segues into the next question I want to talk about. He kind of sounded like he had POTS.
Oh,
Because, like, he could be sitting down, and if he, like, leans forward, or when he did certain things, like, nothing that would really get your heart racing. Walking down the hall doesn't necessarily do that to normally, but he would have issues where all of a sudden his heart rate would just jump up. And we have a the blood pressure. And I would kind of check that periodically, and it seemed like his heart was kind of doing stuff. And how did you discover that you had POTS? Like, what was it that said, yes, I have POTS? This is definitely, like, say, the gold standard of symptoms.
that is a really good question. It's going to sound so silly, but the reason I went looking for a POTS diagnosis, that I went to a cardiologist at all, was because of TikTok. In 2019, when I downloaded it, TikTok's algorithm is just so good that I knew that I was passing out and that I was having all of these symptoms, bad heart rate, dizziness. I mean, it correlated a lot with my period, but outside of that too. And all of a sudden, all of my For You page on TikTok was people being like, I have POTS and these are my symptoms and this is my diagnosis journey. And I literally was sitting there going, I've literally never heard of this thing in my entire life. And then after, like, seeing it on my For You page, I go to the cardiologist and all that. Of course, the gaslighting went through like 3 or 4 cardiologists. Finally found a nurse practitioner, Dr. Maggie. I love her. Like, the first thing she said to me when she walked into the room was, oh my gosh, I love iced coffee. And I was like, and I love you, citizen. But like, I was like, I love you, thank you. And then she helped me on that journey. But I, like, now that I know what POTS is, or once I figured it out, it was so weird. It was like everyone around me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually so much more common than I thought. And that was such an interesting experience, because it's like, when you are in this community, you're like, oh, there are all these different things and I can look into this stuff. So I love that question.
And I feel like the moment you brought that up to me, suggesting it could be POTS, we started finding POTS stuff all over the place and seeing all different people that have POTS. Now we talk to a bunch of people that have POTS. So I guess someone's listening.
Or it's just a coincidence that maybe you do have it and I, once again, was right. But, that's a whole other conversation.
Also, can I just say, I'm not a doctor,
Oh, yes.
but based on the fact that I do this for a living and I listen to everyone talk about it, it sounds like you could also be experiencing like a histamine dump, like that feeling of like sudden adrenaline. I feel like a lot of people that I know with like MCAS, they're like, there are certain times where it's like, there's like this histamine dump and it's like their body goes into like hyperdrive. But in reality, if you were looking at metrics, it'd be like, nothing's happening. Your heart looks fine, but you feel like you're dying. And you're like,
Right.
cool, bro. Thanks.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yep.
Just wanted to put that out there.
Could
I was
be.
like, while we're talking about your mystery medical
No,
ailments.
that helps a lot, because, you can only look up so many things if you don't know what you're looking for. And, like, it's hard to discern, well, is this true, or is this good stuff to even, follow or think about? Because there's just so much information out there. I mean, trying to discover my CRPS, it took probably like weeks worth of down the rabbit hole for me. That's what I like to call it when I go into research mode.
Love that.
And it took really long to find the criteria and that they, used to diagnose it with. And then when I finally found it, it was just like, okay, let me see, do I fit this, this, and this? And now, especially with POTS, because does seem like a lot of people have it, and I guess it's because nobody realized how prevalent it could be, and trying to find the actual symptoms of POTS is so varied too. So it's really hard to kind of say, well, these are the symptoms that I have that kind of follows POTS, so it must be POTS. Because when I'm looking at it, it's like a lot of his symptoms do fit POTS, but they also fit, I think I found like 4 or 5 different diseases that also fit. And it's kind of hard to discern, well, which way do I go, you know? Especially not being a medical doctor and not having the access to the books that they have or, you know, the medicines. Because he took Levistor, something like that. It's like the cholesterol thing, and he took another heart medication. And
it was one that I think is supposed to slow your heart rate down.
Yes.
Usually for people that have, what's high heart rate called?
Tachycardia.
Like a beta blocker or something.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was like that.
And that made it too slow. Like almost way, way low.
I think I was high 40s at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like 40 to 45 when he would take the beta blocker. And his blood pressure was like almost non-existent type of thing. And he felt really bad on it. And so after the medicine ran out, he didn't go back to it. And when he is on his normal time, like he's 60s, maybe 80s. And then there are times when I've checked it and he goes up to 90s. And that's kind of partially why I thought, well, maybe it's POTS. But, and he's like, well, no, I don't faint. And it's like, yeah, I know. A lot of people don't. And so it's not like I'm trying to convince him, you have to have POTS, damn it. It's not like that. But it's just being in this community has helped immensely because having the ability to throw ideas off of people and people saying, oh, well, it's like this and this, then yeah, I have these similar things too. This is what I was diagnosed with. And it makes a huge difference. And I love this community for that because for so long, especially before social media, it was just like you were lucky if you found anybody who had anything similar to you.
Yeah.
Usually you were just kind of like the only one. So I thank you for, being a part of that sounds so wrong. Thank you for being in pain. But I appreciate the fact that you're a part of it and that we were able to kind of toss those ideas at you and, you help. And it's just, I really appreciate that.
Sure. I appreciate you letting me come on the pod and talk to you. I love talking to other people with similar and different experiences. It's what makes this fun, right?
Yes, it does. And it's beautiful to me.
Speaking of support, I know you had mentioned that your family wasn't too great about when you were sick as a kid. Do you feel like you've had good support since then? Since your adult life? That's good.
Yes. I think moving out helped a lot with finding my community, like you guys, like the chronic illness community, but also, with like family and friend relationships. I think once I was able to get those diagnoses and kind of look back on my life and reflect on, even the neurodivergent experience, it's the same as looking back and going, oh, that wasn't normal and that should have been taken care of. And now I have a better relationship with my family and they are apologetic for not trying to figure this stuff out sooner, but it's the same with my autism diagnosis. Like my mom said, I never thought anything was wrong with you because I always struggled with the same things. And I think that was definitely the same with like chronic illness, like bad periods, passing out, things like that. It was like, oh, that's just a normal experience. And it wasn't, but now we know, and they're way supportive now, and I love them so much.
You don't know what you don't know. So if she thought that was normal, I can understand that completely.
Yeah, and even if she didn't think it was normal, it wasn't until maybe 10 years ago, really, that people started to kind of actually listen to those, complaints, I guess you could say, about being in pain. Because when I was growing up, it was supposedly normal. Oh, well, that's because you're a girl. And my neurodivergence wasn't noticed because I wasn't jumping off the chairs.
And you had good grades.
And I had good grades. So it was just like you get kind of pushed under the rug, or swept actually is the term, whatever. Anyway, but it's just, you kind of get overlooked because if you don't, like I said earlier, if you don't fit the right pretzel, then they don't think to look for anything else. And I didn't fit the right pretzel. So I understand a lot of parents, especially around my age, coming forward and saying, I'm sorry, but I didn't know. And we didn't. When we were younger, it was also, if you had ADHD, you couldn't have autism, and vice versa.
Yes. It wasn't until 2013 that diagnostic criteria changed. So it literally wasn't possible before.
Right. And so we didn't realize all of those things. And, it did a huge disservice for us because we're finding out now that, these things weren't normal. And I'm glad that you were able to reconcile that with your family, because some people don't get to. And it was kind of like similar with mine. I was able to I have a better relationship with my mom now that, one, I am not living under her roof, and best thing ever. But I love my mom and my dad, but I'm better because I know where I'm coming from now, where she was coming from, and she understands it now, because we would clash a lot. But it's because we were both autism and ADHD, and it wasn't something that, again, because you had good grades, and you're a girl, you're ignored. And I'm kind of glad about that.
Yeah. I have one more question, then we got to start wrapping it up.
We don't gotta.
Well, we should.
I think talking to her.
But it sounds like in the beginning it was really rough for you and a lot of pain, very high pain. As far as your mental health was concerned, going through school, going through puberty, and up until you actually got some relief, did it really, I guess you could say, tear you down? Did it really affect you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the prevalence of mental health and chronic illness, like the correlation between those two, like it's so often that if you are in pain all the time, of course you are not having a great mental health experience. So yeah, I think when I was younger and even now, it's like such a struggle to maintain good mental health when you're in pain. I've been in therapy since I was like 11, and I think that is such a good thing, and more people should be in therapy. Just for funsies, but especially if you have a chronic illness.
Yep.
It is. Yeah. It's good. Even if you don't have a chronic illness or a mental illness or anything like that, it does change it helps to, bounce ideas off of people that don't necessarily have the agenda of, well, I'm your friend or I'm your spouse. And so there's that fun, there's that nice aspect of it. They can't tell anybody. That's the other best part about it, is they can't go around and spread, did you hear what so-and-so said? And so there's that. And then along with having mental and chronic pain, diseases, things like that, you really need it, because it is really hard to cope sometimes. Even in the best mental moments. Like, there are times when my flare-ups just get me down, no matter how hard I try not to. And having that therapy helps immensely, because so many of our diseases cause people to then unalive themselves. And I just, please, just see somebody, because that's not right. It's, you should be here. People love you. And if nobody seems to love you around you, find us. We'll be there to give you what you need, because nobody should ever feel alone.
That is a great point. And I mean, hey, it's Suicide Prevention Month right now. So this is such a good point to make.
Yes, unless you're like me, where I accidentally said suicide.
You said it was Suicide Month.
It was like Suicide Day. Like, I meant to say suicide prevention. Hey.
So, before we go, did you want to let people know where to find your podcast, anything that you want to put out there?
Yeah, sure. If you enjoyed listening to me ramble about my personal experience, I do it for a living on Chronically the Sickest Podcast. You could find me at The Sickest Person You Know on most platforms. And if you are autistic, chronically ill, if you like the color pink, crows, dopamine dressing, I am the girly for you.
I love crows. Do you have, like, pet crows by any chance?
Legally, I cannot say that I have pet crows, but I do have crow friends, that's for sure.
Awesome. Okay, like, I need to come over and, like, pet your crow friends with you because I have always wanted a crow, and they're so brilliant, and, I'm, like, fangirling. And it's a really good podcast, by the way, so please listen because she rocks. She's awesome, and I hope that more people go to you and, listen to your podcast because, again, it's really good.
Yep.
Thanks, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Back at you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes,
It's been
you.
a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. Please leave a rating for us wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok.
Othering Podcast is brought to you by Loudcore Productions in conjunction with your support. Your host, Mike and Dory Morris, graphics by Joshua Morris, and join us next week on the Othering Podcast.